Okay, so let us continue from the point, right? And the point was historical deduction of the true concept of art. And here, in varying levels of detail, he describes the philosophies of Hegel. By he, we mean Hegel. Hegel defines the philosophies of the following philosophers. Kant. Kant was certainly a German philosopher, and Hegel means tried to get great benefit of his philosophies. Number one, but and number two, at certain classes, he is not going to admit him. Okay, but overall, we have found that Kant Kant's philosophy certainly has great influence on the philosophy of Hegel. Kant's philosophy certainly turning point in modern times. He was a philosopher of 19th century, and he was German philosopher as well. Schiller breaks through Kantian subjectivity and abstraction, seeks the unity of universal and particular through art and aesthetic education. It means that he believes in the unity of universal and particular, unity of the universal thoughts, okay, with the help of art and aesthetics. Salita, please mute your mobile. So here, and then we have Schelling recognize the idea alone as a true and actual, thereby helping the discovery of idea as philosophy's absolute standpoint. Schelling was of the view that the idea plays a very important role, especially in the world of philosophy. So philosophers must come out with new ideas to guide the people. Winkelmann encouraged the discovery of idea of art in both art's work and art history. He discovered new modes of thinking about art. He was the inventor of art history as discipline. And then we have A.W. and Frederick Hegel, critical rather than philosophical, and sometimes I admired the mediocre, mediocre, but approached the standpoint of the idea and and polemicized against their predecessors. So he was he was uh, against his, certainly not 100% against, but this happens as well. That sometimes what happens that the new philosophers come up with new ideas, then they on the basis of their old ideas, they may introduce different type of philosophies to make their importance more in the world. Otherwise, for example, if Hegel had simply put forward the philosophical ideas of the Kant, then how it had been very important for him to be called a philosopher of modern times. So certainly he has brought certain change in the world of philosophy and come forward with entirely new type of ideas. So this also happened. And some philosophers are against the other philosophers because they have solid reasons to prove them. By them we mean the other philosophers. Not quite true. For example, if you go through means the ideas of Bertrand Russell regarding Hegel, even that Bertrand Russell is of the view that Hegel is not a philosopher at all, right? He is he never considers him philosopher. Why? Why? Because Bertrand Russell is of the view that Hegel in the beginning was associated with mystical school of thought, and then immediately he moved forward to worldly type of gains and etc. And then again at the end of life, his philosophy was changed. So Bertrand Russell has criticized Hegel at the highest level, and he says that Hegel is not philosopher at all. So it means that, and we are going to study Hegel at the moment, his lectures on fine arts. Okay, so philosophers are certainly most important people who always come up with the new ideas, with the new means type of theories and etc. in order to prove themselves more important than that of their predecessors, right? Hegel then attacks irony with reference to Fitch, Soldier, and Tech. The translator Knox comments in footnote. So how Hegel is going to attack irony and how he has taken all these philosophers at at his at his critical level. Okay, the term romantic irony seems to be derived from F1 Hegel, and it is generally understood to mean that the writer, while still creative and emotional, should remain aloof and self-critical. It means that he has been criticized through these words. That, for example, all those romantic irony are the term romantic irony. Romantic irony seems to be derived from such and such person and generally understood to mean that the writer, while still creative and emotional, it means that such type of philosophers should not be emotional at all. Emotional means that over here, emotional, to be emotional means a negative type of point. Okay, and creativity and emotional attitudes are entirely different. So he should remain aloof and self-critical. Hegel is a critical of romantic irony as its intense subjectivity conflicts with his own scientific objective approach and belief in the absolute. It means that Hegel's point of view is scientific point of view. Okay, scientific point of view. So he is against the romantic irony. In irony, objectives' interests become relative to the ironic subject and thus a mere show. He called them mere show and nothing else. Irony encourages artists to see themselves as egotistical geniuses who look down on the mediocrites for whom law and morals are still important. So he has clarified his point of view over here. I think that three students are there, but here I can't find them. So now see that the 20th century philosophy that was put forward by Hegel is also scientific one. The artist's relation to his own specific reality, his particular actions, as well as to what is absolute and universal, is at the same time null. It means that the relation um, in artistic relation to his own specific reality and his actions. I'm sorry, I don't have their names and over here. They are not being highlighted that I may allow them to enter class. Anyway, from the ironical standpoint, everything factual, moral, and worthy becomes mere vanity. So it means that if you are going to utilize romantic irony, that you will reject all those worthy type of ideas and make them certainly futile because of non-seriousness. Okay, division of the subject. In the final section of introduction, Hegel sketches his theory of art as it unfolds in the history. Now, see, now he is going to present his own theory. Art proceeds from the absolute idea. It means that art is the result of the idea that has come from the absolute one. Okay, as we have discussed it earlier. I give you example of poets, that it is not possible for poets to compose poetry until and unless they get idea from the absolute, and the idea along with the revelation, and its end is the sensuous presentation of absolute. And what is the purpose of that idea? To present them in the worldly level, okay, that people may easily understand it. Now see, let us take example, or let us first complete this paragraph. Its content is the idea, its form is the particular configuration of sensuous material. Certainly, the idea will be means put into certain shape. It may be a shape of poetry, it may be a shape of picture, right? So that is called a form. And this is the sensuous material. It means that it belongs, form will be in the material world. As I told you yesterday, that by we, I mean that human beings are, means a combination of spirit and body. Okay, body, you may take for example body as a, sensuous type of thing related to material world. As far as the spirit is concerned, it is no more material, and it doesn't belong to material world, right? It is the smallest particle of absolute, smallest particle of absolute, right? So now see that we have been sent in the world in the form of body. Body means form. We are in the form of human beings. And what is inside of us? Certainly soul or spirit. So same is the case. Artists get idea from the absolute one, and then present them in the sensuous world, especially in the material world, in the means in the material world in concrete form. Idea is content, but the form is sensuous material. Art reconciles these into a totality. And art considers all these things as the totality of art. It means that now in human beings, you will find worldly things on the one hand and spirituality on the other hand. So it is the totality of each and everything. Now, when thing is, or when the work of art may be presented before you, now it is up to you that how, uh, 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 or which you are going to select from there. As we have the best example of movies. Okay, the content should be suitable for artistic presentation. So the content of idea should be suitable, that the artistic work can be presented, and should be both single and concrete. It must be single and concrete in the solid form. I, for example, reconciliation of particularity and universality. There must be reconciliation of both of them. On the one hand, the particularity must be there, and on the other hand, uh, means universality should be there, right? In becoming conscious of itself, the spirit has to go through a course of stages. When you will be able to know yourself, then you will have to cross certain stages which correspond to different configurations of art or art styles, a sequence of definite conceptions of the world given artistic shape. Means you will have to cross all these stages. You will certainly go beyond the content, beyond the form, and and especially in the world of imagination, by crossing different type of stages, and will at least be able to understand the main idea from where it emanated. The idea of beauty of art. Okay, the idea of the beauty of art are the ideal. The absolute is the idea as such, but the idea as the beauty of art needs to be objectified into individual work. Now, see, idea is certainly itself abstract, but a work of art is required in order to project that idea. In art's work, truth should not be confused with technical correctness. It means that you should not combine the truth with technicalities of the work of art. Defects in art can flow from content as well as from form. So now see, if you are unable to present, you are unable to put forward the content of idea, then it will leave the bad impression on its form as well. Hegel criticizes the art of the Chinese, Indians, and Egyptians. Why? They could not master true beauty because they are mythological ideas. It means that they are not quite masters of beauty. The reason, their ideas are based on mythologies. The content and thought of their work of art were still indeterminate, so they are unable to determine the proper thought of their work, are determined badly, or if it is presented, it is not quite attractive form of the idea, and so did not consist of content which is absolute in itself. So their work of art is devoid of the content, and the content is absolute one. In the best art, the idea means content, its presentation, form are in conformity, means there is a unity between these two. The idea and the form are adequate to one another, and they are interdependent. Point number two, development of ideal into the particular form of the beauty of art. How to develop the idea into a particular form of the beauty. The forms, the forms are tags through history are different relations of meaning and shape for grasping the idea, and art history is created by unfolding and reconciliation of particular works. Hegel outlines three stages for development of fine art. So now see that in the light of the history, he has presented three stages of development of the idea. Number one, symbolic; two, classical; third, romantic. These stages are three relations of idea: content to its configuration, form. And now, up to this point, we have understood two things as far as the idea is concerned. Idea itself, certainly content of it, and then configuration of it is form. Each is higher, each is a higher form than its predecessors. Hegel later calls them the universal moments of idea of beauty. This staged approach led Gombrich to consider Hegel rather than Winckelmann's the father of art history. So now see that all these things will help us out in order to understand the work of art. Symbolic art. What is symbolic art? Art begins when people start making the idea the content of artistic form. Okay? This is the first fermenting, mysterious form of art. The idea is still obscure, abstract, and inter, sorry, indeterminate. It means that no, in the beginning, people tried their level best, or philosophers tried their level best to present the idea. And for presentation of idea, certain forms were required. And those forms were certainly mysterious type of things. And the people were not quite familiar with all those forms. If you go back into the ancient history, art does not yet possess in itself that individuality which the ideal demands. So the work of art could not provide individuality and never fulfilled the demands of people.
ನನ್ನ ಹೆಂಡ್ಸ್ರಿ ಹೇಳಗ ಇವತ್ತು ಸುಮ್ಮ
Now see, you might have observed yourself that what Nurul Huda did. Now, I'm very sorry to say I cannot make people understand. Anyway, let us continue, please. Its abstraction and one-sidedness leaves its shape extremely defective and arbitrary. Art in this stage is still struggling to find a form. So now see that in the early stage or in the early days, artists found it quite difficult to create the form or to give the form to that idea or that content. The ideas imposed on objects or when correspondence is not yet possible. It staggers around in the form, distorting and exaggerating it, because it is yet unshapable and persists sublimely above all the inadequate representations, such as, says Hegel, is a typical of the early artistic pantheism of the East, which he expresses in the following words. Okay? On the one hand, ascribes absolute meaning to even the most worthless object. So now see, if the object is quite worthless, now the work of art or the artist is the most important person who will give it absolute meaning. And on the other, violently coerces the phenomena to express its view of the world, whereby it becomes bizarre, grotesque, and tasteless. turns the infinite but abstract freedom of substance. Now, I think I can feel the noise outside, so let us stop over here, please. Let me to continue with the same because only one or two points have been left over. So we want to complete it today. And test this turns infinite but abstract. So I think that this will not stop. This noise will certainly disturb us. So I'm going to continue after 10 minutes.